Hello folks, sorry it's been a while since I did this video, but I am going to do part 3 of this composition study of Shostakovich. The previous 2 videos we've gotten to roughly bar 80, and we're sort of getting into, I guess, the second half of the exposition of his themes. If we're thinking of it as a sonata form, roughly sonata form structure, then this is the second half of his exposition. Okay, so let's just play from here till the end of the exposition, and we'll go through bit by bit. Okay, so I'm just going to go through it. I haven't structured this. I've just made notes as I was sort of going through, and I think what I'll do is I'll just go through it, play little bits here and there. I think the general thing that I want to say is that as we begin to hear new material, he does a sort of dovetailing effect, where something that we're going to hear later, there's like a little kernel or a little seed of it sort of popped in there, and so that by the time we get to the new material, our ear is accustomed to it. And I don't know what the proportions are that he's using in order to do that, because something that I think a lot of modern composers can do is use things like golden section, where you sort of use Fibonacci sequences to gradually stack up the number of occurrences of an idea or material, so that by the time it happens we're sort of fully into it. But it might start, let's say, I don't know, 13 bars before, and then 8 bars before, then 5 bars before, then 3 bars, then 2 bars, and then 1 bar, and then you're into it. That's the Fibonacci sequence going backwards, by the way. I think people like Debussy did it as well, and possibly earlier composers as well. But anyway, but I don't know if that's what he's doing. I haven't taken the time to try and figure that out. But certainly, there's moments where you're kind of like, oh, what's this? And then it doesn't make sense until a new section happens later. Okay, so we start with this this sort of pedal on E flat. Again, putting on the brakes. Is this a dominant pedal? The leading note into E major. So we start this sort of dum diddly. Oh no, what have I done? Whoopsie. Never do that. Okay, so so again we have that thing of it jumping between different groups of instruments, all sort of playing in the gaps. So you sort of add it up and you have this constant rhythm running through, but it's skipping across the instrument. So you've got the strings here, then you've got the woodwinds, and then the glockenspiel. And I think there was something about we hadn't heard the glockenspiel since the beginning. And so this sort of the what's the word? The recapitulation of that colour, if you like, or the reoccurrence of that initial colour is also a way of wrapping up this first half. Again, you know, in composition, that's a very nice technique to bring something back that we've heard at the very beginning, at the very end, to sort of round it off. And I feel that that's what's happening here with this glockenspiel. We're just rounding off the first half of this section. Okay, so anyway, it's these E flats, and then we go into this next bit, which is in E major. Well, I say E major because what I'm talking about is the sort of William Tell overture that happens a bit later on. But this is sort of a precursor, a bit like what I was saying about him introducing a kernel or a seed of an idea. And this sort of sets us up for that. Anyway, let me just play this stretch of bars here. Okay, I'll stop there. So something that I want to mention is the use of dyads. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this in the last video. I can't remember. But his dyads are built out of fifths and sixths, and you know, there are various different ways that he stacks those together. So just looking at this bit here, bar 84, you've got the bass trombones, the tuba and bass trombone, and then the trombones, and you've got this umpar, and it's you know, it's these fifths. And I think we have a little bit of the umchar thing happening just in the previous section. And again, it's these fifths, but in the pizzicato strings. But it's a sort of development of the accompaniment. Up until that point, we've just had the sort of dyads played as chords, I believe. I believe that's true. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but but that sort of umpar thing is introduced here in the pizzicato strings. Yeah, and we have this funny trumpet melody here. Sorry. so it's this very sort of slinky, slidey, chromatic, quite angular melody, really. I've put new theme bar 66 question mark. So this is bar 66 is this thing here, which is like a sardonic fanfare. Just have a listen to this. I mean, it's actually pretty tonal compared to this next one, but you know, that sort of I don't know. I mean, I can't necessarily tell you why they're related, but they feel related, don't they? Oh yeah, and so this other thing that I wanted to mention is this stuff here, these kind of woodwind you've got this leap and then a sort of scalic motive coming down, which is the same sort of description of this very opening motif. You've got a rising, leaping arpeggio. And then when we get to this bit, we've got I think that's what it is. I think that's how he's come to it. He's just widening the intervals. And this happens basically 3 times. You've got this first instance here in the woodwinds, followed by the sort of the little brass ensemble. Then you have it again. So I've said here the shape is similar, wide leap and falling scale motive is this A plus B motive, but again widening the intervals. The phrase is growing in size each time. The E flat to D is present in all 3 phrases. Bar 80 question mark. Oh yes, so this sort of pedal point. So and then this second one over here. Yeah, and interestingly, the second half of this one is basically preemptively repeating what the trumpet then plays. Oh yeah, and also you've got this random trumpet note just here on the sort of on one hand, and I think it's again this thing of the filling in the gaps. Okay, have I mentioned everything here? Okay, and just the comment about the brass ensemble is playing an exact repeat, but it's juxtaposed by these stark atonal wind passages. And then the third passage is taken over by the strings, which feels colder. I said muted. It's not muted strings, but it just feels more restrained. It's less bright. Yeah, and I've labelled it A B A B A, A B A B A. So yeah, and then we get into this next part, which okay, so I've put S and then R, which makes me think I am thinking it's some sort of sentence form. So this is the statement and then this is the repeat. I've put demented Tchaikovsky. Let's have a listen. So okay, so I mean, this is where we're heading. Is this William Tell, and the dyads have now become major triad, and I think this. You see, you've got. What have you got here? Yeah, we're sort of gradually becoming more triadic. That's a very much a B flat dominant 7 chord. He's moving away from exclusively using a pair of dyads, one being a perfect 5th or 4th, and the other being a 6th or 3rd. You've got this sort of tritone, which you could say is a diminished 5th, and then the octave. An octave is a very similar to a 5th in that they share. They share the let's just say an octave and a perfect 5th are interchangeable as a pitch because they share a lot of the same overtones, and it's why if you want a contrapuntal passage you shouldn't have parallel octaves or parallel 5ths, because it stops becoming contrapuntal because it's essentially one part moving in the same direction. Anyway, so we get to this part here, which is the William Tell, and I think that's what we're getting into. It feels like demented Tchaikovsky because we're moving into, I guess, a more kind of the more kind of romantic repertoire, like Rossini. Okay, what have I said here? Horns are very loud here, so the bassoon is here to help the low end. Oh yeah, so I think it's just an orchestration question. I'm puzzled as to why he's added the bassoons here. Because also the other thing is that there's very little kind of blended orchestral sounds. He doesn't tend to double the woodwind with the strings, for example. It tends to be woodwind and strings playing different parts. Or if they are blended, it's very minimal and maybe used for something like this where it's a dynamic balance issue. Because you've got horns 1 and 2 absolutely pelting these top Bs here, concert Bs. Yeah. perhaps I'll play a bit of an orchestral recording so you can hear what that sounds like on the French horns in that register. Okay, and so what have I said? Both horn and bassoon colours introduced in bar 105, marked P, but balanced against the 5 wind players. I guess that's the piccolo, the 2 flutes, clarinet, 2 oboes, and clarinet. So I've asked the question: is the bass line an arpeggiation of the FC dyad? Because you've got this happening in the upper strings. So is it that dyad against that dyad? And again, this thing of just developing the accompaniment figure. It's an char, but now he's pulling one of the dyads that way to make an arpeggio. And it's quite remarkable because it's every instance that this sort of dyad accompaniment figure is coming in, he's doing something slightly different with it, even though it's the same conceptual idea. He's finding multiple ways of us hearing that idea, but multiple different ways of it being heard. So it's a great lesson in variating the accompaniment and how you can get, what is this, 150 bars of music with tons of variety. Okay, so here we are, the William Tell. Should we just hear that bit, by the way? This is the William Tell bit. Okay, so I've said William Tell, bizarre and banal, but rhythm born out of motives, plus the open 5 dyads chugging away in low brass, but the third at the top, an open triad, the first one we've heard, ? Well, I've just pointed out that he's planted the seed with the demented Tchaikovsky music. Is this where the combination of fifths and sixths come from? Triads with the legs or heads cut off. So the point I'm making here is that you have a so you have that dyad of the perfect fifth, and then you have this dyad of a sixth, and you put them together and you have an open triad. So I guess my thought is, has he cut this triad in two, split it down the middle? And so what you see, all those chords I'm playing are built out of fifths and sixths. Is that what he's done? I don't know, but this is a fairly, important bit of the music. So, and it's all been leading up to this point. So maybe that's what he's thinking. I could be wrong. And then we have this da da dee, da da dee. Dyads doubled at the octave. In, up, in the upper oboes and clarinet, pizzicato strings, falling scale line is this motive D ? Sixths with fifths. So yeah, it's just these are sixths coming down. So so yeah, that's what he's doing, and again, it's doubled at the octave. Ba ba ba, ba ba ba. I mean that sort of motto rhythm is throughout the whole movement. Da da da, da 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 da. And this ba da 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 becomes more developed in the middle section, in the sort of development section. And then we get to this last part. So let's just listen to this quickly. So this bit, so I've said chords are built overlaying dyads of fifths and sixths on top of each other to create interesting 4-note chords, umpa, most dense harmonies of these dyads. Okay, so I've tried to sort of split them up. So we've got an E flat and a G. This is the bit I'm looking at. So we've got an E flat and a G, and then a D and an A. Let's not worry about the bass for a moment. This is, and then C sharp E, and then a B flat and an F. So it's a combination of thirds and fourths, or if you wanted to transpose it, it's fifths and sixths, and then the same with this one, thirds, fourths, or sixths and fifths, and it carries on all the way through that. So here we've got 2 sixths stacked on top of each other, C sharp, E, B flat, and then so C sharp, F sharp, the fourth, E, G is a sixth, and then this one is D sharp, F sharp, which is thirds, and then C natural, G natural, fourths. Let's just listen to that passage on its own. And with the bass line. Now, is he arpeggiating? Is he arpeggiating the fifths, and then the semitone? How is he arriving at these? I don't know. I don't know what to say about the bass. It could be that these are arpeggiations, and this is a semitone, so it fits outside. But maybe he tried the D there and it didn't sound as good, and the B flat sounded cooler. I mean, I think a lot of these sort of rules that you might set yourself in composition, they're to be flexible. You can't be super strict with it. If something sounds good, then maybe that's what it should be. We have this 16th note figure, which, to be honest, sort of comes out of nowhere, and I was sort of a bit puzzled about how he's come up with it, where it's come from. But is this 16th note figure setting up the French horn fanfare stuff that we hear at bar 137? Umchar music we've heard before, albeit crunchy harmony. So I'm talking about this part here, which is the climax of the opening section. It's the first time we hear the full orchestra, I believe. So all the brass, all the woodwind, all the strings, and we've got some timpani in there as well. Don't think we've got the glockenspiel in there. I think he's having a little rest at this moment. But this is really the sort of where we've been headed to the whole time. Let me just play. I'll just play this last section. I think it might be useful to just hear the orchestral version and maybe have a look at the score. Okay, so I think this figure here, I'll just play it. So I think that is, first of all, it's these. So there's seconds and sevenths. Now, and they're dyads. It's loud and dissonant. And I would say he's starting to squash and widen these dyads. So we've got to the point now where by bar 137 we've heard these combinations of fifths and sixths to death, and so we're starting to mess with the interval. But that rhythm is kind of what we're hearing here. If I just solo this. And funnily enough, it's... Yeah, no, it is on the beat, but it's... But his emphasis is actually on beat 3 here. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Whereas here it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Again, it's that thing of he's repeating an idea, but it's different in some way. And the emphasis has been shifted from the first beat to the middle of the bar. So again, another... It's just absolutely packed with variation, basically. It's funny. One of the things that I think I'm beginning to learn in my own composition is that the sort of timbral elements are not... It's not enough to variate timbre. So what do I mean by that? I guess it's an orchestration thing. So you might hear a melodic phrase, let's say in one group of instruments, and then we hear that melodic material again, but this time, let's say on a solo flute, for example. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the only way to variate your music. And it's funny because as a jazz musician, you can only variate using things like harmony and melody and rhythm, because you don't have that timbral element. I mean, you can change registers and you can play softer and you can play louder, but for me, I'm on the piano, and so the way for me to variate my material is to mess with it, mess with some sort of, with a parameter of some description. I mean, rhythm is quite a good one, and melody, obviously. And what's telling is that I'm barely talking about orchestration, although I think he has a very conceptualized approach to how he's using the orchestra in this piece. But really, all of the juice of this piece can be seen in the notes, basically. How he moves from one set of material to the next and how he gets there. Like I say, how he's modifying. So how he's modifying the accompaniment, for example, is a great example of, you could have the same sort of umpa music going throughout the whole piece, and you can give it to the brass for one bit, then you give it to the woodwinds for another bit, and you give it to the strings for another bit. But this is a far more interesting way of exploring it. And I haven't even talked about what instruments are playing, because it's not really the most important. It's not really the most important part of what's happening to the variation. So anyway, I think that's something worth mentioning. So anyway, so going back to this 16th note figure, I think that's what it is. I think he's introducing what we're going to end up hearing as the sort of climax of the piece. And it starts off in just the first violins. So let's see. I think that's all my notes. That's kind of where we're at. So I think I would like to maybe play the entire movement on my short score, and I'll send a link to where you can hear an orchestral version of the whole piece. So let's hear it from the beginning. I hope you've enjoyed studying this piece with me. And I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I shall be perusing my library fairly soon. All right, here we go. Okay, and then just quickly, just occurred to me as we were playing through this, that sort of umchar figure doesn't happen until bar sort of 75, and I think it's literally because we're beginning to get into William Tell overture, even though they're actually it's chugging away, but the music that sets it up is the umchar, and the umchar continues, and yeah, but it's something that's just occurred to me, is that it actually doesn't happen until we begin to transition into the sort of second subject music material. And also I forgot to mention just this last sort of 4 bars. Just have a quick look at these chords. So from working downwards, you've got these thirds, double up the octave. So there's the thirds stacked on top of each other, with an F sharp in the bass, and if you want to look at it, a functional harmony is chord 2 as we go to E major. And again, it's that thing of just rounding everything off, using this opening motive. But you got this interesting F sharp. Very crunchy. And then bang, E major. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you can join me for some more of this sort of thing in the future. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say and what you think about this piece, and maybe Shostakovich more widely, and maybe you've got some insights into this piece as well, because it's a very curious number. All right, take care.